Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, which is being sponsored by Project Caminos and the Office of Admissions at Cal Poly Pomona. For interpretation, and change over to the channel for Spanish translation as well. On that note, I want to say welcome to everyone joining us for the next steps for admitted freshman students. My name is Xiomara Melendez. Welcome to today's webinar. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and turn it over to our team from the Office of Admissions, Tracy Liu.
Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I know it's the end of your school day and you are probably super zoomed out right now, but we do appreciate your participation. We think it's going to be incredibly valuable. But before we start, I wanted to congratulate you on behalf of the Office of Admissions. I really wanted to congratulate you on your admission. We had the record high applications this year with 58,000 undergraduate applications. So you really need to give yourself a little pat on the back and buy yourself an ice cream to celebrate, because it was not an easy feat to be admitted this year. This is the largest application pool that the university has ever seen. So you really deserve a lot of praise for all of your hard work. Now, with that being said, we know that there's just as many students that we turned away an admission offer that would love to be in your spot. And so this is the reason why we wanted to share the Next Steps workshop with all of you, is because you tried this hard and worked so hard to get here. We want to continue that trajectory towards a successful enrollment. So what we're going to share with you today are some important milestones and deadlines and requirements that we really want you to meet, because we don't want you to lose your spot, that valuable spot of admissions, by missing out on something or not doing something. So it's really important that you take good notes and meet these deadlines, because we certainly wouldn't want to give your spot away to anybody else, because there's a million other students waiting for your spot. So we do have our entire counseling staff here to answer your questions. The lead for today's session is going to be Jasmine Flores. She's going to be navigating you through our next steps. And then behind the scenes, myself, Ms. Deborah Hernandez, and Ms. Inos Ting will be in the Q&A answering any questions. If you are an international student out there, Inos Ting is our international counselor that can answer any questions that you might want to put up into the Q&A. So with that, again, I want to congratulate you on your admission to Cal Poly Pomona, and go Broncos.
Great. Hi everyone, I'm Jasmine Flores. I am an admissions counselor. And like Tracy said, congratulations on your admission. We will now get started on the next steps PowerPoint. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the Q&A. Okay, so we're first going to talk about accepting your admissions. So this is a two-part process. You need to accept your admissions, and then you will have to pay the $150 enrollment deposit. Both of those need to be completed to fully accept your admissions to Cal Poly Pomona. The $150 that you're paying does go towards your fall fees. It is possible that you may have a fee waiver. You will see this in your Bronco Direct. If you do have a fee waiver, you'll be able to see that. This deposit is non-refundable, nor is it transferable, meaning you can't try to give it to another student and you can't use it towards another CSU. The deadline to do this is May 1st. And all of this is done through your Bronco Direct. You can find a full tutorial of that on our website. Again, this does need to be done by May 1st or your admission will be withdrawn, and we definitely don't want that. So if you are committed to coming to Cal Poly Pomona, please make sure that you do this process as soon as possible. Next, we're going to talk about orientation, and orientation is going to be a little different this year as it is going to be virtual, and orientation is mandatory. Currently, orientation is available for you to register through your Bronco Direct. The last day to register for this is May 17th. Again, there is a fee for this of $87.38, but you don't have to pay this right away. It is due in September, and it will be added to your fall fees. Now, freshmen have this little table right here to select from the dates. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to select from all these dates, as you're only going to be able to select the dates that are for your major or your college. And the way orientation is going to be set up is that it's basically a 3-part orientation. The first part actually being your reservation or your registration. To be able to do this, you will have to accept your offer first, and then you'll select your date of attendance. And again, all of this is done through Bronco Direct. After that, you have until June 1st to complete a workshop. This workshop is 2 hours long. It's self-paced, so you can kind of do it at your leisure. It's going to have resources that the campus offers. There will be quizzes throughout, so we do want to make sure you're paying attention to all of the information in that workshop. And then at the very end, you will be given a certificate of completion. Now, this needs to be completed by your virtual orientation day. And your virtual orientation day is the day that everybody is waiting for. It's when you get to go on Zoom, you get to meet other students, you get to meet your orientation leader. And I think the funnest part for everyone is you get to register for your classes that day. So this is what your day basically looks like on that orientation day. You'll have some breaks in between. And then at the very end, you will go ahead and register for your classes and meet with your advisor if you have any questions about the classes you should be registering for. All 3 parts of this orientation process are required. And so next we're going to talk about housing. Keep in mind for this year, freshman housing is not a requirement. So this may not pertain to you, but in case you were thinking about possibly housing, you are able to apply for it. The application is open. And so you are able to apply for it, but it's at a very limited capacity. So if housing is something that you were thinking of doing, I would suggest applying sooner than later. There is the $450 deposit that is required for 14 days after applying for housing. And the priority deadline for really everyone is May 15th. So again, more information can be found on their website. It is not a requirement, but if it is something you were considering, I would suggest to apply as soon as possible. And then final transcripts, which is the big one for our freshman students. So all of you have been offered provisional admission. So what does that actually mean? Basically, we admitted you based on your self-reported information on your application. We need now your final transcripts to verify that all that information is correct and that you have met all of your A through G requirements. So once we get all that, then it just kind of becomes your regular admissions and it's no longer provisional. And if there are credit or pass grades on your transcript from any of these terms on the screen, we are accepting those as well. And remember that these grades do not impact your GPA. And I know a lot of questions that we've gotten are, what happens if I fail a course senior year? As long as this is not an A through G course requirement, so it's not your United States history that you're taking that needs to meet that history requirement, this is not going to impact your admissions. We're looking to make sure that all of your A through G requirements are being met with a grade of C or better or with a grade of pass. Now, your official transcripts, the due date for that is July 15th. So this is a postmark date, meaning it needs to be sent to our office on or before that day. We may not receive it on the 15th, but it does need to be sent to us July 15th. Rule of thumb is send it as soon as your grades are posted. You don't want to wait just in case. It'll make you feel better if you send it early and we have it way before that deadline. So as soon as your school posts your grades on your official transcripts, please just make sure to send those over to us. Most high schools use Parchment to send them, and we accept transcripts through Parchment. So you can just go to parchment.com and submit those to us that way. If your school doesn't use Parchment, they can be mailed to us from the school or sent to us directly from the school to our verify@cpp.edu. But again, most high schools in general use Parchment, so you should try to order from them. And then I know a lot of freshman students are dual enrollment students, meaning that they have also taken classes at their local community college, which is wonderful, but we also need transcripts from that school. I know a lot of high schools do put the courses on their transcript, but if it's a non-A through G class, so say you just took a sociology class that's not really meeting any requirement, they may not put that on your high school transcript. So we want you to send the transcript directly from the school. We also need that to put it on your transfer credit report. The colleges will not send transcripts on your behalf. I used to work at a community college, and this was a question we had a lot. They do not send them on your behalf. You are the one who has to go and initiate that. So if you're taking a class now at a community college, send that transcript once your grades have been posted. If you've taken one previously and aren't enrolled in any more, you can go ahead and send that to us as soon as you accept your admissions and know you're coming to CPP. Just go ahead and send us that official copy. And again, transcripts have to be sent to us directly from the school. Normally, schools are using Parchment or National Clearinghouse to send transcripts. And then summer courses at community colleges can be taken if you wanted to maybe get ahead on your coursework. As long as these courses aren't trying to be used to meet the A through G requirement. So say maybe you failed a math course that you needed to complete that requirement, you cannot make that up in the summer. Remember, all A through G courses have to be completed by the end of spring 2021. Now, if you wanted to take any courses above and beyond, then we definitely encourage students to take courses at their local community college. And again, just when summer is over and grades are posted to your official transcript, make sure you get those transcripts over to us as soon as possible. And so let's talk about some external exams, because I'm sure a lot of you have taken these at one point. So as we know, the SAT and ACT is not required for admissions this admissions cycle, but we can use it for English and math placement. So if you did take it, you can send that to us so we can use it for your placement. The deadline to send these to us is June 1st. We really would like it by that June 1st deadline just because we will have it before your orientation day, which is really necessary again for your English and math placement. Now, if you didn't take the SAT or ACT, that's okay. We'll still be able to place you in English and math using other means. But if you did take those, go ahead and send us those scores. And they do have to be official scores coming directly from them. And then, advanced placement. If you did take AP scores, we need official score reports from College Board. I know some of you may still be in AP classes and haven't taken your exams yet. Just once you get those exams and those scores, go ahead and send this to us directly from College Board. And same with the IB scores. Now, the deadline for the APs and the IBs is a bit different from the SAT and ACT, again, because we want the SAT and ACT for placement. So for AP and IB, you have a deadline of July 15th, and there's our school code right down there. Remember, for APs, you get credit for them only if you score a 3 or higher. And then same with the IB, you have to score a 4 or higher on the higher level exams. So not on the standard level of IB, it has to be higher level. And then again, we will give you credit for those once we get the official scores. And so some of you may be in one of these majors down here, an engineer major, agriculture, and the food and science tech major, or in the College of Science. If you're in any of these majors, you may have to take what's called an Aleks placement exam. Basically, this is just a calculus placement exam that needs to be taken by our deadline, which is June 1st. This just helps you place us in the correct math class for your major. So this is an exam that is done at home. It is online. It is a 1-hour exam that can be taken multiple times. It's going to consist of 3 practice exams and 1 final assessment. So you do have to do all 4 exams, but there's just 1 final assessment, and there is no cost to this exam. Some students may be exempt from taking this. So how we can waive you out of it is if you've earned a 3 or higher on the AP, AB, or BC calculus exam, if you took a college algebra class at a community college or another institution, or if you earned a 4 or higher on the IB math higher level exam. Now, we will be communicating to the students who need to take this exam via email. We will be sending out some communications, so you will know if you need it or not. Again, the deadline to do this is June 1st. And again, we really highly encourage students to get this done by June 1st, because by the time your advising comes, we do need to know what math to place you in to be able to give you a correct schedule that really fits the needs of your major. And so then we're going to talk about financial aid a little bit. So basically, you're going to find out your preliminary aid or estimate aid package via your Bronco Direct mid-March, so it's coming up soon. If you have any specific questions, we really do encourage you to reach out to financial aid and ask them. This is their contact information below, and they also have virtual advising hours that you're able to attend. So we really recommend reaching out to them when it comes to financial aid. Same with housing. If you have any specific housing questions, please reach out to the housing department. And same with orientation. If there are specific orientation questions, you'll want to reach out to that department as well. And then we're going to talk about the Bronco Access Card, which is basically just your ID card. Now, this is not an admissions requirement, but it's kind of cool to have an ID card from the school you go to, even though you guys aren't on campus. We definitely recommend students do this when they have some downtime to be able to upload your photo, and then you'll also need to upload a government ID. This just gets uploaded through our secure website, which the link is right here. And once it's approved, they will go ahead and mail it to the address we have on file. So because we are mailing it, it's very important that whatever address we have in your Bronco Direct is up to date, because we don't want to send it to the wrong mailing address. It's just going to come back to us, and then it's going to take us even longer to get it to you. So you just want to always make sure your information is up to date, and then that'll be mailed to you once you do that and you upload your picture and your government ID. And then here's the next steps checklist. And this is really if you wanted to take a picture of this, or if you wanted to screenshot this, because this is really kind of like the nuts and bolts of everything you need to do for the next steps for your admissions to make sure you don't get withdrawn for any reason. And again, some of these may not be applicable to all of you. But again, just a quick going through your admissions acceptance and your enrollment deposit is due May 1st. If you are going to apply for housing, that is due May 17th. If you registration for orientation is open now, but the deadline to do that is May 17th. The Aleks exam, if you do have to do that, the deadline to do that is June 1st. And if you did take the SAT or ACT exam, the deadline to turn those into us is June 1st as well. And your final transcripts along with AP scores and IB scores is due July 15th. And we are having some next steps webinar, which is very similar to this. So if your parent couldn't join in this time and they want to come, these are just some of the dates we are offering for our next step webinars. And this is our contact information. If you need to contact us, obviously our email is open 24/7. Someone's not going to get back to you all day, but you can email at whatever time you would like. And then our phone number is right there. Our phone lines are open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then you can always visit our website for any more information, or our Instagram or our Twitter. And again, welcome to CPP.
Jasmine, I know that there was a couple of questions. If you can clarify, when does orientation open for students to be able to register?
March 15th. So it's already open. So students can go ahead and register via their Bronco Direct as soon as they accept their admissions offer and pay their enrollment deposit.
So it's a two-step process, right? They first need to accept their admission in order to be able to register for orientation, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Perfect.
Did anyone?
I know that we saw some questions on the Q&A, and I don't know if for the admissions team, if there are any questions that were worth for repeating for the general audience to be able to also hear.
Jasmine, one of the great questions that we always get, it wasn't asked today, but what does provisional admission mean? Would you mind clarifying that for the students?
Yeah, so everyone is provisionally admitted because we admit based on your self-reported information on the Cal State Apply application. So we need to verify that all of that information is accurate. So we need final transcripts to be able to verify that. We need to be able to verify that you have met all of the A through G requirements with the passing grade. And so you're going to be provisional until we receive those final transcripts and then are able to verify that everything has been met.
I think another important question that we already answered in the Q&A, but I know a lot of students want to know is what is our plan for fall? So I know Deborah had already asked that question or answered that question in the chat. And so all of our CSUs are preparing for in-person. At what percentage of classes is not yet known. Some of the CSUs are saying that about 50% of their classes will be in person, whereas other campuses are saying 30%. So we are anticipating being somewhat in person at this point, but for Cal Poly Pomona, we're just not really sure. A lot obviously has to come along with the county that we reside in, being LA County. What are the trends at that time of the year? But we are planning for an in-person, probably at a 30% possibly.
And I do see some questions in the Q&A. One of them is talking about that they're currently in AP classes, but decided to cancel their AP test. You do not have to go ahead and update that in the Cal State Apply website or in your Cal State Apply application. So that does not need to be updated, no. And preliminary financial aid packages should be available mid-March, so you should be seeing it soon, but any direct questions for financial aid should be directed towards the financial aid office.
So I just reviewed the financial aid website, and it looks like March 21st is when students should start expecting to see that. There's another great question that was asked about changing an emphasis. Would you mind sharing how a student would, if they're interested, like what that process would look like?
You would definitely want to reach out to your advisor at the Bronco Advising Center, and they can kind of walk you through that process of changing your emphasis. So that is something that you can definitely talk to your advisor at your orientation.
Oh, it looks like one of the questions I'll take live, which is online classes. The counselors, and I'll just jump in because the counselors may or may not know. The school schedule, the class schedule is being determined in terms of what's going to be in person versus online. So we should be knowing shortly. But again, a lot may change or morph as time goes on, partly because of just what's going to happen with the pandemic.
And just to add to that, the official start for the fall, as we have it on the calendar, is August 19th. So it is going to be coming up. In what mode, that is still going to be determined based on the classes that you will be registering and guidelines that we have from state and local agencies.
So someone has a great question about if the online orientation is different from the virtual orientation. So there's 3 components to our orientation. One is the actual registration of orientation, and one is the online orientation workshop. So that's the 2-hour self-paced workshop that's going to show you different resources that the campus has. You're going to have quizzes, and you're going to, at the end, get like a little certificate that you finished it. And then there's an actual virtual orientation, which is when you get to meet via Zoom with other students and your orientation leader, and that's when you get to register for classes. But that online orientation workshop does have to be completed by the day of your virtual orientation.
I see the question come up. If I plan on taking the AP Calculus test, how will I be able to waive off the Aleks exam if an AP scores are released in July?
I can actually answer that for you, Jasmine. So
Thank you.
never want to assume that you're going to pass your AP Calculus exam. You don't want to put all your weight on that. So I would recommend that you actually take the Aleks exam, since the deadline for that is before your scores are released, because again, you don't want to assume that you're going to pass that AP exam, and in the event that you don't, or you change your mind. So in this particular case, I would recommend you sign up for the Aleks exam.
And it's free, so you're not spending any money.
Great point.
And there was someone who asked about, about their financial aid package if they turned in their FAFSA late. Again, we really recommend all financial aid specific questions go towards the financial aid office. We don't want to advise you incorrectly. So again, you can contact them and they will be more than happy to assist with your financial aid questions.
And somebody just asked if the Aleks exam is used for math placement and who would be required to participate in the Aleks test.
So it's required for math placement if you're in certain majors. So all College of Engineering students are required to either take the Aleks exam or have the necessary requirements to waive out of it. And if you're in the College of Science, except for kinesiology, you would have to take it. And then the food technology program and the College of Agriculture does have to take it as well. And again, we will be communicating that with you guys via email. So if we don't have anything that will waive you out of that exam, we will go ahead and send you an email letting you know that you do need to take the Aleks exam. And then I can answer this one. If someone asked if there's a change in my class schedule, would that affect my admissions offer? Normally, no, as long as it's not an A through G required class. So if you just dropped an elective that goes above and beyond your A through G requirements, then it would not affect your admissions. And then someone is asking how they accept their admissions. So if you just go into your Bronco Direct and you go into your student portal, you'll be able to accept it there. I know Tracy or someone did link the ECD tutorial, which is in the chat, and that shows you step-by-step on how to log into your, or how to get to accepting your admissions from your student center.
If we can have all of our questions be directed into the Q&A, that will help us streamline that. But I do see that a question has come in through the chat. They're not sure if it's already been asked, if they have dual enrollment classes for transfer and about APs. And I know that we did cover, you covered that a little bit. If you want to just do a quick recap on that.
So I think we need a little bit, as long as the transcript that you have is sealed still from the school, because remember, official transcripts need to be sealed, either mailed to us in an envelope sealed or come directly from the school to us. So if the transcript that you have is open, we won't accept that because it's now considered unofficial, but you can always just have the transcript sent to us directly from your institution. And it looks like someone is asking where they can sign up for the orientation. You can do that through your Bronco Direct in your student center. Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, but somebody is asking about completing both the Aleks exam and the AP test. And would we look at both, assuming the test contributes to different placements? I assume we would take whatever puts them in the higher level, correct?
You know, I don't want to misspeak. I'm not in the math department, so I don't know. But we did put the link in to the Aleks information into the chat, so you can feel free to go there and inquire. I would assume that whatever scores you higher is what we would take, but that's just my assumption. I think you need to inquire with the math department.
Jasmine, do you want to
And
answer?
it look.
I'm sorry, when the virtual
No, go ahead.
orientation, what do you want to answer when the virtual orientation will be available for students? That was dropped in the chat, not in the Q&A.
Okay. Yeah. So that depends on when you sign up for it. So we're going to have a few dates that freshman students can sign up for based on your college or major. And you'll be able to see the dates specific towards your college and major on your Bronco Direct. And those will be the dates that you're able to sign up for it.
But just to clarify and to add to that, the virtual component will begin June 1st. And that needs to be completed before you participate in your appointment, which is what Jasmine was referring to, you selecting the date. So it can be a little bit confusing. Just remember, March 15th, you can sign up or make a reservation. Beginning June 1st, you can do the actual module, which Jasmine explained will include quizzes, and you will get a certificate. And then after that, depending on your reservation, that will be the actual component where you register for classes. So those are the 3 parts that she broke down, and all 3 parts are required. And I don't want to overlook the question about the cost. This cost is determined by the orientation office. So you can reach out to them to inquire about specifics on that, but they do have to, in fact, put on a system and staff the support that is going to be available. Even though we are virtual, you're still meeting with an academic advisor. They will still have students assisting. So I'm sure it covers all of that cost. If you are receiving any type of financial aid, you can wait for your financial aid disbursement to pay for that $87. It's not something they have to pay beforehand. It's actually due September 1st, which is way after the actual reservation date. So if you're concerned about that, you can reach out to orientation.
And then I do see that somebody is asking how FAFSA will help them with this school. FAFSA is determined by income. And so again, we really do encourage students to seek out the financial aid office about how much aid they will be receiving based on what they put on their FAFSA.
We saw the question come in of when will students be able to register for classes. You'll be able to register as part of that orientation process, and you'll be able to do that with the help of an advisor team. So whether that be your faculty advisor, college advisor, or the Bronco Advising Center supporting, that's where you'll be able to do through orientation. So that's why it's so critical for you to not only accept your admissions offer so that you're able to register for orientation, but then for you to be able to register at orientation for your fall classes.
And then we do have a question about late documents for FAFSA. Again, all FAFSA related questions should be going to the financial aid office. We just don't want to ill-advise you. So please direct all of those questions to financial aid.
And for those that are joining us, I think this is a nice transition, but please go ahead and continue to enter questions into the chat that you may, into the Q&A. Excuse me about that. Go ahead and enter them into that Q&A box. But we do want to remind you, and thank you for being with us today. We are going to continue to take a few more questions, but we do have a virtual webinar that is coming up, which is on financial aid. There's a lot of financial aid questions, and we know that's very critical and important. Our financial aid, what admitted students need to know next, is coming up. We have one coming up on on the 24th, and then we also have one on April the 14th, and then we have a couple of other series. If we have families and parents and you want to invite them to come back. Have our Build Back Parents series that we're going to be continuing, along with some fun engagement pieces like CPP Loteria that will get you started connecting with Cal Poly Pomona. And then, the next topic of questions besides financial aid has been on registering and how do you get into classes and what classes are you going to be able to take. And so we do have a session coming up in May, which is with your advising team and success partners that we're going to be delivering in partnership with our Office of Student Success colleagues as well. So if you are not already aware of our website, please make sure that you visit us or follow us on our social media platforms. We are at CPP Caminos, or you can go to our website, which is www.cpp.edu/Project Caminos. And I see that we have a couple of other questions that have come in into the Q&A.
So you will need to speak to your advisor at the Bronco Advising Center about changing your major. They will be able to advise you on the best way to go about that. And again, you can talk to your advisor during your orientation when you have it in June.
And as we're beginning to wrap up, we thank you so much for being with us today. We are going to stay on the line for a couple more minutes, but we do ask for you to provide us some feedback on today's workshop. And so this is a great time to go ahead and just take a quick screenshot. And if not, go ahead and jot down the web link that we have available. We do value your feedback and take that into account. And so we hope that you're able to provide us information of how our workshop was today. For entering and responding to the survey for today, you will also be entered into an opportunity drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card. So something to look out for. Amazon does sell books, so something for you to begin to prepare for in the fall. Every dollar counts, and so we hope that we're able to get your response. And again, we thank you so much for being here. And then we're going to stay on for a couple more minutes just to take any additional questions. But on behalf of the Office of Admissions, all of our colleagues here, Project Caminos, and Office of Student Success, we thank you so much and we congratulate you on your admissions. We are delighted to have you here and we look forward to welcoming you this fall at Cal Poly Pomona. Thank you, everyone. I do see 2 more questions that have come in, Jasmine or team.
So Deborah, if you could maybe help me answer the one about medical programs, if we have them here,
There's a link that I can drop to answer this question. I know that we do have a program that may offer some additional resources for students, so I'll go ahead and drop that shortly. Xiomara, is this going to be recorded? I mean, I know it's recorded. Will this be posted?
Yes, we can go ahead and share it out to those that registered and we can post as well.
If I can say something about preparing for medical school, I think, and you'll hear this from a lot of higher education professionals, is that, medical schools don't really care what your degree is in, so long as you have the right prerequisite courses, the OChems, the, biochem, the anatomy, the physiology. So, our school does have a major that's not necessarily called pre-med, but it has a lot of the courses that medical schools look for. That's our kinesiology, general kinesiology major. But again, it's not to say that you have to be that major in order to go on to medical school. I've known plenty of students to be any other variety of majors. One of my former orientation leaders is a dentist now. She went to dental school. Another is a pharmacist. So there's a lot of pathways to get to medical school without necessarily being a pre-med major. But that's something that I think you really need to, maybe meet with an advisor with when you get to Cal Poly Pomona. That's not a conversation you want to have with your advisor at orientation because you won't have a whole lot of time and it takes a lot more planning, but you'll definitely want to have that conversation with your advisor come fall term.
And I see a question about putting money on your account balance. If I'm not exactly sure what they mean, so if that person could elaborate on that, or if Tracy and Deborah may understand that question.
The
I'm
maybe
not
Bronco ID
sure.
card?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what they mean either. So if they can maybe just post that question again, because it could be Bronco ID, or are they referring to paying a balance? I'm not sure.
And then to answer the question about scoring on the Aleks exam and how does that affect your 4-year, I really think I would encourage you to speak to your advisor about it, because we want to make sure you're in the right math to get you to graduate in 4 years. So it's a question that really needs to go to your advisor.
And if you are worried about the Aleks placement exam, you do have to take 4 practice exams before you take the actual exam that'll count towards placement. And depending on how you do on those practice exams, it will provide you with some tutoring so that you can score higher. Like Jasmine said, your placement does matter. In her answer, she wasn't taking away from that. And we do want to make sure that you're in the appropriate level to graduate in 4 years. Now, if you do end up placing lower than where you should be to graduate in 4 years, that's a conversation that, like she said, you will need to talk to an academic advisor to see how we can get a remedial course. I'm not sure if we're going to be offering, the summer bridge program this year or not. So I think more information on that will be provided. But that's also and summer bridge, for anybody wondering, would be somebody that would need to make up placement to be in the appropriate math and English at the college level. So more information on that to come. And that's also why we ask you to take these exams early on, so that we can determine how we can better assist you.
Someone asked about attending Cal Poly and then transferring after 4 years. You definitely could do that. Do we want you to leave us? No. But, every student can transfer once they meet the requirements for other institutions. But again, Cal Poly is awesome, and we offer so many resources and different classes that we really would love everybody to stay and finish their degree here.
And I see the question about admission. Why is admissions payment needed? I don't know if that's a question around tuition, perhaps.
I think they were referring to it, the ECD. That's how I interpreted it. And if not, please post the question again. But if you were in fact referring to your ECD, that is essentially you holding your spot at Cal Poly Pomona. And that is not money that we keep. It doesn't go to our office or anything like that. It's actually applied to your fall fees. So you will see that deducted from your fall fees. It's essentially you making a deposit ahead of time. So if that's what you're referring to, I hope that answers your question. If not, please post your question again.
Lots of great questions that we saw come through. Again, we thank everyone so much for joining us. And we hope that we've been able to answer, and if not, give you some context as to where you can find more information to come through. I see the question did come back up. Is it possible to take summer courses at a community college before attending Cal Poly Pomona in the fall? And I know, Jasmine, you touched on this a little bit earlier. I don't know if you want to iterate a little bit more.
Yeah, you definitely can take classes at a community college as long as those classes aren't to meet your A through G requirements. So if it's just to go above and beyond or to get a little bit of a head start before you start your classes here at CPP, you absolutely can take classes at your local community college.
With that said, we're going to go ahead. I see no questions coming through. I want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us. Tracy, any last words for the students that were able to join us today from the Office of Admissions?
I was really impressed with how engaged the students are. Ziamara, you've got some fantastic students in the Caminos program. Sometimes when we do these workshops, not a single question. So you've got some really great engaged students. So if you keep up that track record, you're going to do great at Cal Poly Pomona. You're asking all the right questions. So thank you again for participating. If you missed any of this or want to just come talk to us again, join us for our other live webinars that will be taking place in the month of April. As Jasmine had shared, there was a screenshot of some of our future sessions. It's basically going to be just like this one, same information, and you'll be able to pose your questions again there too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We hope that you stay safe, and we look forward to welcome you at Cal Poly Pomona. Thank you, everyone.